Good day. Have you ever been in a store and there's a mother talking to her kid and the kid's not paying attention? The kid's acting up. And the mother, instead of grabbing the kid or leaning down and mumbling what can only be interpreted as some kind of a threat, the way our mothers normally do, like, if you don't do what I say, that kind of thing. But instead, you get this. Now, what if the other children grabbed something off of the shelf, something that they wanted? What would happen to the rest of, and this is as you're trying to move up. And Mr. Rogers here, or Mrs. Rogers, is, why do you think she's doing that? She's doing that not for the child's benefit, but for your benefit. She wants you to see that she's the great mother. She wants you to see this. Not that she knows what she's doing, but she wants you to see that she's the great mother. You see? See how this works? You do things sometimes to look like you know what you're doing. And in your job, most of the time, I can't say this enough, you have to look like you know what you're doing. There was a fellow years ago I used to work with. He was kind of in the engineering. Well, / production is hard to say. These distinctions don't mean anything anymore. And he was always walking around with carts. We had cart racks. I'm dating myself, but they look like 8-tracks. He was always walking around. And people would say, Jerry, I'm busy right now. And he'd keep going. So finally I asked him, I said, I think I know why you carry something. So that you always look busy. He said, exactly. And he learned it from a guy in engineering who said, if you're ever carrying a ladder, nobody will ever bother you. And I'm thinking, you got to carry a ladder, not a big ladder, but even a step ladder. People will not bother. Because the key to life is looking like you know what you're doing. Those who can do, those who can't. And a couple of things I want you to listen to. Be very carefully. The media are not here to illuminate, to educate, to make you smarter, to make you think. It's not happening. They're there to survive. And they're there doing their best to create the illusion, the perception that they are providing some media, whatever. They are doing this so as to give you this sense of, I know what I'm doing. And you're seeing it now, especially, forget bank collapse, glasses, you're seeing media stories. And one of them, remember, when things get tough, they always go back old school. I've seen it a million times. Rule number 1, never get innovative people who truly understand what something is about. Never. You want to get somebody who knows corporate, somebody who's been in the company, maybe in other positions, in other whatever, but people who have been who have been in sales, or maybe head of they used to have these things, I'm in charge of group 1. There was a fellow the other day who put out he used to be in radio, used to be a big shot. There is no more radio for the most part. There is no more, well, the classic terrestrial, the stuff that used to be, the station groups. And he put out an article about how to deal with talent. I'm thinking, what is this, from the 80s? They don't know what year it is. They're trying to look important. They're trying to look like they know what they're doing. And the hardest thing for people to understand, the hardest is to step back and ask yourself, what am I trying to accomplish here? What am I trying to accomplish? And people will say, well, I want to do a TV show, a radio show, a podcast, but what are you trying to accomplish? And ultimately, the answer is, metrics and all that stuff, because that's really all that matters. But normally, but you say, but how do you think you'll get that? What is your goal? What are you trying to accomplish? Do you want to act like you know what you're doing, or do you want to really do something? The other day, there was a group of people who met for this rather grand event, and they were broadcasters. And virtually all of, well, not virtually all, but many of them who were there were at this event to try to get a new gig because their radio or TV, whatever, it's over with. It's been either shuttered, compartmentalized, redirected, refocused, whatever you want to call it. So they were at an event of broadcasters trying to get a gig. Because there's no broadcasters. It's changed. And what the good people will do is they'll say, oh, I understand this. I got it. The essence of broadcasting never changes. The essence of information never changes. That never changes. But maybe, went from AM to FM to talk to podcasting to whatever it is. Doesn't matter. It's the essence of it. What am I really trying to do here? What am I really trying to do? And the first thing I want to tell you before we get into something, and listen to me very carefully. There's a rule in trial law about cross-examination, don't. And let me just tell you something right now. If you're thinking about having a guest on, don't. Think about this. Why do you have a guest? Because you're not able to cover it. You're not able to carry it. Nobody wants to hear you. They want to hear somebody else. Let me say this again. When you have a guest on, when you have like somebody, and sometimes you can say, here we have a Martian. That's a good one. But most of the time people say, because I don't know what this, I don't have anything to say. I'll ask a question. Well, is it your show? What is this? What is your show? Is it about you? If you never talk on your show, it tells me, it's like, wow. I've never seen anything like it. This subjugation, this abnegation, and it's everywhere. Here's another thing they do. When you're trying to reconstitute a network, you'll get refugees from old shows. I'll get him. He's a name. Excuse me. You're a news show? Yeah. Is it about news? No. It's about looking like we're a news show. Like the mother who wants everybody to think she's a good mother by verbalizing all this psychological nonsense. It's not about news. I don't know about news. I don't read this stuff. I don't know. What are you doing? I don't know. I'm trying to look like I know what I'm doing. I don't understand the essence of it. It's incredible. Now, the next point I want to make to you is very simple. And listen to me and listen carefully. There is going to be a new level of liability. Civil liability, I don't know about criminal, but civil liability, administrative, where people are going to be held accountable for the information that they give. Too many, and I'm not saying misinformation, disinformation, please, I'm not saying that. I'm talking about somebody who says something and you do it. Every now and then somebody feels so imbued, so empowered by what their thing is that they will say things. They will say things. And they will never say, excuse me, I'm not an expert. I remember one time hearing somebody say, listen, this is plant-based food people, my people, not vegans, plant-based. Somebody would say, listen, you if you cut out all meat and blah 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 blah, you can stop taking your your lipid stuff, and you whoa, 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 wait, what? Wait a minute, you're telling people to change their medication? No, 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 no. This is this is beyond your don't do this. Don't do this. Don't say that. Oh no, you don't have to worry about this. Hey, I'm on a diet where all I eat is meat. That's all I'm eating. And I feel great. And I don't eat anything but meat, raw meat, and I lick salt, and I make and you should do that too. Okay. Somebody does it, he's diabetic, goes into ketoacidosis, and you get all of a sudden served with some complaint because you told somebody, and you say, excuse me, I'm not an expert. No, you didn't say that. You said do that. And so, by the way, these little disclaimers are more important than you might think. I hear this stuff all the time. I was diagnosed with such and such, and I just did juicing and fasting. And wait a minute, hold it. Don't say that. Be careful. Somebody's going to listen to you and do what you say, or not hear you exactly. They're not going to hear you exactly. You're getting a little bit. So why do I say this? When you're on TV, listen to me. If you're on TV or any kind of particular whatever, and you say, I'm an expert in finances. I know about investing, stock market. I'm it. And after you've been doing it for a while, your kind of ego is inflated to the point where you're unable to even judge reality. And you say, buy this, whatever this thing is. You buy it. Take my word for it. Buy it. Wait a minute. Really? You betcha. Because I'm the greatest. I'm making more money. I made my money from TV. Not from my investments, but they don't know that. That's me. And the bolder I am, the more my numbers go up. And the louder I am, the more my numbers go up. And more of this. Money? No, this. So in keeping with that, I'm going to say, buy this. And let's say you buy it and go, shh. Is he responsible for this? Is he liability? You're going to see more and more of it. There's something in law called estoppel. Estoppel is a weird thing. It's this great little, there's this case, I think it was Hammer against Sidway. Was that it? Don't get me wrong. It's like one of the first cases you learn in contract law. An uncle tells his nephew, I'll give you money if you stop smoking. He stops smoking. He says, okay, Unc, I stopped smoking. How am I going to pay you? What do you mean? Well, you benefited from not smoking. No, I stopped smoking because you told me you'd pay me. I relied on you. Justifiable reliance. You were estopped from not paying this, but they relied on you. Now, sometimes, also, when you hold yourself out as an expert, it's a different story. When you say, I know what I'm doing, and by the way, the standard of care that most people realize, you realize that negligence, let me go back, negligence is a very simple thing. You got to prove this. Number one, did you owe a duty to somebody? Yes. Did you breach that duty? Yes. Were there damages? Yes. And was the breach of that duty the proximate cause of those damages? Yes. That's negligence. If, however, that duty that you owe is a little bit special because you held yourself out as an expert, wow. And that goes for DIY shows, for people on I see it all the time on videos, and here's how to use a sword. Here's how I put up a deck. Here's how I support a beam. Here's how I unload a 1911. Here. Ooh. And invariably, the person who's going to come and sue you is going to say, I took your advice. And you're going to say, that wasn't my advice. And they're going to say, oh, yes, it was. Well, you didn't do it the right way. Or I put a disclaimer. Well, I didn't understand it. Watch what I'm saying. Watch what happens. This is something which is so incredible. Watch what happens. Here's something else. What about this? Let's say I have a competitor. I have a competitor in the business. And he has this, I don't know, this diet coming up. I'm a nutritionist, he's a nutritionist, and we're always battling each other. And I know he's got this thing coming out next week or whatever. And it's about eating bacon, let's say. I don't know. I'm making this very, very simple. And I know this. And I know this. And he doesn't know I know this. And I know they're going to make their big publication announcement 2 weeks from now. This big bacon diet. Okay. I start flooding everything, because I'm a big shot, about, let's say, anti-bacon or anti-pork or whatever it is. And some of the information is, well, doesn't matter. And I say things like, if I were you, I wouldn't eat. And lo and behold, his book is announced, and they go, oh, bacon. No, we heard about it. Remember when Oprah years ago was sued, I think, by the Chicago, was it the Futures, where she said, you're not going to get me eating a burger or something like that. And her, just her opinion caused the futures to drop or whatever it was. Well, what happens if you're out there and you're saying, I'm going to short something, or I'm going to do, or I'll tell you what, that, the government better bail this out. If not, there's going to be a whatever. Now, it could be my opinion. It could be based on fact. It could be based on a lot of things. But what happens if I'm doing it deliberately to cause a fluctuation in market volatility? We talk about these things. You've heard about this. Insider trading. Insider trading is so interesting. 10b-5 stuff and Blue Sky and SEC stuff. I know that there is a drug that did not get its approval or did get its approval, so either I short it or whatever I do. But I use this information that I got that other people don't have. And I would venture to say it happens more than you could ever even imagine, but let's assume theoretically. And I go out and I use it to my advantage. That's insider trading. Well, what if I use that kind of theory and it's the opposite? I'm not benefiting on something that I'm learning. I'm telling everybody something so that they will act accordingly en masse. What I just described to you, don't worry. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. Now, let me tell you how to do it the right way. Let me tell you how to do it. Give you an example. Let's talk about this. Here's how you sell something. This is what I sell. Right now, My Patriot Supply has a deal, and here it is. Here's the information. There is the data, and that's it. Right now, you get an emergency food kit and an Alexa Pure Pro water filtration system free with it. That's the fact. It's called emergency food. This is how you get it. You can read up all about it. I suggest you do. And I'm telling you, that's a fact. And more people than you can imagine say, got it. That's it. It's that simple. It sells itself. I'm not promising you anything. I'm not telling you that. I'm saying, when somebody sells you a smoke detector, a carbon monoxide detector, when somebody sells you brakes, burglar alarms, things like that, they don't have to tell you. There's these things called this. That's as clear as you can be. And right now, I suggest you go to preparedwithlionel.com, preparedwithlionel.com. Read this. Look what it is. Just look at this. Because most people have said, I didn't even know they had this. When you said emergency food, I don't know what I expected, but look at the variety. 25-year shelf life, 2,000 calories a day. Yeah, 90 days. Read this. preparedwithlionel.com. That's it. Here's another one for you, okay? Fact, there are these things called electromagnetic pulses, EMPs. And historically, there have been, one in particular, these solar supercoronal, it's called a Carrington event or Carrington class event. Sounds almost like a destroyer or something, or an aircraft carrier. But anyway, and there's a company called EMP Shield. Here is the link. Read this. Read what they have to say. Read the certifications. Read the warranties. Read it. Read this. Makes complete sense. Read it. You decide. I'm not promising you. I'm not telling you if you don't do this. But just like somebody who says, if you don't get a burglar alarm, you're going to be burgled. Nobody says that. But nobody has to say that. So that's that. See, I believe in telling people the truth. That's it. But when you're involved in something and you get involved, like some of these shows, I'm listening to this right now. Here's another one for you. When somebody says, this guy who predicted whatever. There's always somebody who always predicted something. He predicted Charles Ponzi's. He did? He said, how old is this guy? Well, he predicted the end of Lehman. Really? He predicted the end of... Bro, really? He predicted the Depression. He did? He did. How do we know that? And when somebody does that and says, and he's saying this. Now, here's a new one for you. Now, listen to me. What happens if somebody goes to a company and says, I want you, because the various media today, you can, if you're the royal family, you can say, how would you like access to us? Really? Absolutely. You want to have access to King Chuck and Now that printing bad things would be a problem. It would make us disinclined, perhaps, to. Oh, yeah. Now, that's not illegal. It's done all the time. This is days of Winchell and Hedda Hopper and the other one. Okay? Now, when I see things like this now, I'm thinking to myself, isn't it interesting how sometimes certain media become part and parcel of the news? They will promote somebody. They will have somebody on. They will actually promote something. And what they say is taken either correctly or not correctly. And the question is there going to be liability? Let's go back to War of the Worlds, the famous Mercury Theater, Orson Welles. Orson Welles said repeatedly during the course of this is not really happening. This is not happening. Don't think this is happening. And nobody cared. It was so realistic, people went berserk. Should there be liability for this? Now, my first instinct as a sentient human being, civil libertarian, and all-around good guy is, no. Always accelerate, always promote speech, opinion, the like. Always do that. Don't do anything to affect it negatively. The other night I happened to be at the airport, and I was looking at this sign, and it said the airline arriving on time, baggage carousel. I thought to myself, this is the best information there is. This is brilliant. Dum. I see cabs. God bless cabs. They're still hanging in there. And on top, They have little billboards that change constantly with the information. Brilliant. Billboards. In the old days, they'd have a billboard, a guy with a paper, and he'd put them up, with this. Remember that with that brush? They change all the time. Brilliant. Brilliant. I love information. And I love information to be pure, and I love information to just come at you. And I want you to be able to say, now listen, in order for you to enjoy this information system, you got to ask yourself this thing. You better listen carefully. For the most part, we're going to hold people accountable, but we don't want to scare people so much that people say, well, I'm not even going to bother with that. I'm not going to bother. We took those baggage signs down. Why? Oh, because we had the wrong number and they sued us. Forget it. Now we don't have them anymore. So you got to be very careful with that. And you have to think to yourself, there's a balancing act. And if ever there's got to be, my God, there is such a balancing act. Going back to what I said originally, I don't listen to radio shows. I listen to snippets. I like to listen to like a segment here, a segment here. Usually the first, that's the one that should set the tone. And I was listening to somebody the other day, and all it was one guest after another. Not a good guest. Listen, if you're somebody like Howard Stern used to be, and you've got star after star after star, that's a different story. That's a different story. We have Paul McCartney, we got John Lennon, and we've got whatever. That's one thing. But I'm listening to this, and I said, I know what this person's doing. This person is from the old school and didn't understand that it's not about having guests on. It's having an interesting show. And it's not about getting a great host who says, let me tell you what happened to me today. Where you get to engage and Let me ask you this question. Do you really get to know people? When you watch shows, do you ever feel like they're broadcasting to you? Or that they're telling you something about? There's one guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but he does some very kind of interesting shows, and I don't know anything about him. Larry King was still one of the best anybody's ever seen. Larry King let on more about himself than you can imagine. Larry King was better than anybody. Larry King, during his prime, was it. And I kind of knew Larry King. I knew him. I kind of knew him. I had the guest on, but the guest was important. It was this wonderful balance. And what I do is I hear people. So, going back again to what I said, remember, I'm throwing about 50 things at you, and you got to balance everything that I'm saying. As you are as you're talking about plane crashes, derailments, banking failure, whatever it is, weather, you have to ask yourself the question, what is my job? What am I trying to do here? I'm trying to provide the information. We are right now in a nor'easter. Sounds like something a pirate would say. Arr, nor'easter, dar, shibo, a nor'easter. Okay. 2. What am I trying to do? Well, I'm trying to put the information out. But I want people to listen to me. Why are they listening to you? Because they kind of sort of like me. What happened was, years ago in the world of weather, somebody came out and made a joke. For some reason, the weather guy is always the goof. You notice that? It used to be. Now weather is like, I don't even know why anybody cares about weather, but in the old days it was the goof. Well, let's go to Teddy Edwards. Teddy, what do you think about this? Well, I'll tell you what, it was hotter. How hot was it? Well, I'll tell you, it was some kind of hot. They had a guy years ago on, maybe, I don't know if they even do that anymore. It was on Channel 7. He'd go outside. I said, what is he doing? Well, right now it's sunsetting. Excuse me. It's 6:25 or whatever when you're 5 o'clock. You do this every night. We know why you're doing it. Why are you doing this? Is it a bit? Is it a gimmick? What are you doing? And you know what the answer would be? I have no idea. I'm just doing something. I have no idea why. I have no idea why I'm out here. I don't even know why I'm doing weather. But I'm glad because I'm a weatherman. But I don't understand this. There's nothing tricky to it. You know, let me tell you something. The weather guys who are in Tornado Alley and Tornado Alley, you know, that's important. Oh my God. That's a science. But when you say partly cloudy, it's always partly cloudy. There's a cloud that's it's always partly sunny, it's always partly sunny. So, go back to what I said originally. We are in an informational world right now, and you are being blasted with stuff. You don't even realize it. And what's the most important thing about what we're seeing right now that you don't see? Not only are we doing I'm talking to you. In the old days, you would be forced to, not forced, but you would be listening to me. But now we have a live streaming. We have side bets. Just like when you have sometimes there's a craps game, you have people betting on this side against this one. So here I am talking to you, and there are other people, which is very nice, who realize I don't even care what the guy is saying. I'm just here to talk to other people. This is another platform for me, and it's very important that you recognize this. This is my Twitter, my whatever it is, and I kind of have friends, and I know people, and you know, and I talk to people, and I like to be rebarbative, and you know, I want to fire back with some kind of a, you know, to show how smart I am, because that's all we get to do. I don't even know what the guy's talking about, but I'm just here every day, and I'm just here to talk to people. Isn't that fascinating? You don't see this in any other platform before. Radio, TV, you were just watching this. Maybe you would send in a letter, a postcard, but never did you have a side communication as it was going. Dave, how are you doing? Pretty good. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna miss tomorrow's show. Why is that? Well, I have to I got a planner's wart. You do? Yeah, I have one of those too. Yeah, me, those are painful. They sure are. Meanwhile, this is going on, and I'm over here. I could be doing the monk, you know, with the immolation. You wouldn't care because you're talking to each other, and that's fine. But how interesting is that? How interesting is that? Now, if you want to get people's attention, jiggle the mic, have it go not dark, have it go, soundless. Watch what happens. They'll go crazy. Even though everybody is saying no sound, they've got to say, I got to say it too. Because it doesn't matter unless I say it. Watch that. Very interesting. It's just like with social media. I ate something. I had a tiramisu. I had whatever. But unless I take a picture of it, it didn't occur. Unless I took a picture of it. I got to tell you something which I saw the other day, and I'm going to leave you with this. Somebody whose spouse either just passed away, or was in the midst of it, and this fellow was chronicling every moment of this poor soul's life on Twitter. And I wanted to reach out and say, stop it. Please, stop it. Give this person dignity. It's all about, here I am, sad face. Can you get her in the back? How about this now? Landscape, there we go. We got her arm. Can you move her arm? There we go. I couldn't believe I could not. I've seen it before too. I thought it was kind of rare. Here's my mother. Here she is. You know, her hand, some hand sticking out of a woman who was proud and maybe took care of herself and never went out, you know, just had pride in her. And here she is in this moment, the last moment on earth. The last moment on earth. And death, as you know, there used to be this thing, somebody said, death is the best part of life. Why do you think they save it for the end? You know, I was like, okay, that sounds cute. But no, it's not. There's nothing, it's not cute, it's not nice, it's not. And it should be very, very solemn, and it should be very, very dignified. But I saw somebody actually standing like that. Did you? This is when I step away and say, oh my God. That would be my opening, that would be the show of shows. Because that, not to borrow from Sid Caesar, because that would be, again, this asylum that I'm living in right now. So, the good news is simply this. If you don't like the news now, don't worry, because in less than 12 hours, it will be completely forgotten. I used to give the 3-day rule. Now doesn't matter. Now it's not even 3 days. It doesn't matter. Now, the good news is, this wonderful part about this is, of course, sponsorship. Me being a capitalist, and I'm going to say something about my good friends at My Pillow. Here's what I'm saying. Do you like to sleep? Do you like good pillows? Do you like one that's temperature controlled? Yes. My Pillow. MyPillow.com. Right there. You can call 800-645-4965 or go to MyPillow.com. Promo code Lionel. That makes sense? Makes complete and total sense to me. And one more thing, and this is important, this is critical. Right now, as I said before, during this, I like to say cold and flu season, you have, save up to 15% off of your Z-Stack for an immune booster. But it's not just an immune booster, it's everything. You kind of need this stuff. Vitamin C, zinc, D3, and a phytonutrient, bioavailable quercetin, a flavonoid, which is an anti-inflammatory like you cannot believe. Makes complete and total sense. There's no debate. I don't think anybody says, I think antioxidants are not good for you. Well, if there is such a thing, please let me know where that research is, because I'm a layman. I'm not a doctor. But normally, free radicals, not good. But Z-Stack is where to go. And you use that link right there. So what I want you to do today, I want you to sit back and look at what's going on. Keep a pad. Keep a notepad. Keep it next to your, just like remember we used to have one of these near the phone. And I want you to write SVB, Monday, and then wait until you don't see it again or hear from it. Okay. East Palestine. Write this down and then see, when do we not see it? Oh my God, that was just the other day. Write down all the stories. And they just go away. Are they fixed? No. Would it be great if life were like that, where something happens and you forget it away and say, hey, wait a minute, didn't Uncle Dave have that problem with it? Yeah. Uncle Dave, didn't you have that lesion that was, oh yeah, it got infected and you went, yeah, whatever happened? I forgot about it. Huh. Life doesn't work like that. You don't forget about it and it goes away. It just kind of gets worse. But in the world of news, you just forget about it. You just forget about it. It's gone. Because people think everything will be taken care of. I don't have to worry about anything. Yeah, they use the word crisis, but it'll work out. I'm just too busy. I'm busy, doing that stuff. Don't ever forget why social media are here, okay? Now, let me also ask you, very, very important, please follow me on Twitter at Lionel Media, and I want you also to find Mrs. L, follow Mrs. L on Twitter. Cannot say this enough, so critical. Follow her on Twitter right there, at Lynn's Warriors on Twitter. And my friends, you have a great and glorious day. We'll be back tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel. Remember what I'm telling you today. Just watch what's happening. And a couple of days from now, you're going to say, you know what, he was mentioning that. I'm right about this. In any event, see you tomorrow, same bad time, same bad channel, as stated, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Ta-ta.